Back with another one. Got a good one this time too, man. It's the Nike SB Chunky Dunky, man. I know a lot of people been wondering where I've been, man. I finally got my Instagram back, man. So follow me on Instagram, or if you got any legit check questions, Mr_Troubleman on IG. I've been getting a lot of questions about these shoes, man. So hopefully I can help some of you guys out. If y'all got any questions, comment below. Let me know how the video was, and subscribe, man. I got a lot of more videos coming. Let's do it. Let's get into it. All right, man, here they go. The highly anticipated Nike SB Chunky Dunkies, man. And a lot of people don't know. A lot of people do know this is a collab between the famous ice cream company Ben&Jerry's and, of course, Nike. Just to give you a little backdrop, because a lot of people buy collabs and a lot of people buy things just because of hype and don't know anything about them. Ben&Jerry's is actually owned by a guy named Ben Conan and a guy named Jerry Greenfield, founded in May 5th, 1978 in Burlington, Vermont. What's crazy is this whole chunky and the ice cream idea came from Ben, because Ben has this severe, I guess you could say, disorder where you can't smell or taste. It's called, I think, anosmia. I think I'm saying that right. It's anosmia, man. So you can't really smell or taste. So, you know, he goes by mouthfeel, and he likes to have different things, different types of textures in his food to give him some type of idea what his food might taste like or what it might smell like. So you got to thank him for the whole chunks in your ice cream if you're a Ben & Jerry's fan, or if you're a Chunky Dunky fan, because that's where the name came from. All right, man, let's get into this real versus fake. We're done with the history lesson. Let's see if you can distinguish which one's real, which ones are fake. Got them side by side. Which ones y'all think real, left or right? All right, so if you didn't guess it, that's what I'm here for. If you did guess the ones on the left, they were authentic. The box on the right is the replica box. It is just a little bit bigger, but I mean, if you ain't got a box next to it, you really ain't gonna be able to tell. One thing that I did notice, though, these ridges that's on that Nike box, the authentic box, it's the same ridges that's on there. So I mean, it's even getting tricky with that. They used to be out of control with the ridges on here. One thing I noticed, man, that they putting that special Nike code. It is in the replicas box as well. With the paper wasn't that bad, you know what I'm saying? But this code is, you know, it's always a little bit off. Even if they do have it in there, the print is totally different from the print that's on Nikes. Totally different. I threw my paper way out of my box. I'm sorry, y'all. Forgive me. But yeah, box is just a little bit bigger. The print is damn near the same, because SB did this like weird little Tetris looking print. So that's almost exactly the same. If you ain't got a box next to it, you are not going to be able to tell. They did fuck up a little bit at the top. Like the lines are too different. Again, the replica box is on the right. The authentic box is on the left. This is Nike's tag, usually found at the bottom of SB boxes, your ones. What else? I think I seen it on the bottom of the 4s and the 5 boxes as well. So, but yeah, sit for your boxes. Not much really, because I mean, like I said, the boxes are not what you came for. Came for the shoes. Let's do it. All right, here we go. Moment of clarity. It's time to get to the shoes. I am going to pick the right shoe to do the review on, although there are some things I'm going to show you with the laces and how they come tied on an authentic pair, which will remain on the left for the remainder of the video. I'm gonna keep the unauthentics on the right side. And like I said, I'm gonna show you some things with the laces, but I'll show you that later after we go ahead and knock out the review on YouTube. Let's do it. All right, there you go. You got a side-by-side shot. The authentics are on the left. The replicas are on the right. And, man, just like any Nike shoe, man, the first thing I go to is always the Nike check. That's just me. The placement of the Nike check, the size of the Nike check, the detail on the Nike check are all important. Those are like the first 3 things I look for. Like, as you can see, looking at the authentic, if you look at the uppers, you know, a low top shoe does have an upper, a midsole, and a sole. You know, all shoes do. So if you look closer to the uppers, where the Nike check is, you see it's closer here. Like this gap is really, really small between the two. And then if you look at your replicas, it's not. Look how far down it is from the upper sole. If you look at both of them, you can see what I'm talking about. Another thing is on the fakes, this check is like so fluffy. It's like so, like, you know, it's kind of popping out if you look at it. And then versus on your authentics, it's like really flat. It has a 3D looking image to it, but it's flat. It's not as much detail on it either. If you look at it, you can barely see those ridges. But then when you look at the replica, you can see them pretty well. Really stick out. Another thing was the color. If you look at the color where the check is, see how deep and dark green the background is? That's the land, and then the sky on the Ben and Jerry, versus how light complected it is on the replicas. I mean, it's not like a big deal, but I mean, you can tell it's darker on the sky is darker, and then the grass is darker. Another thing that stood out to me was definitely the tie-dye, like the tie-dye print. This is something, you know, like this shoe is new, so I mean, this is something that'll probably get better, that they'll do or start getting like better materials. But the tie-dye on the inside of this was like so horrible. Like, I mean, it's just like the placement of it. It doesn't really look too tie-dye-ish, like, if that makes sense. But I mean, if you look on Authentics, it's like blended, like it's like a real tie-dye. Like how tie-dye is supposed to look, like it's all blended together. All the colors are blended. Here they just kind of slapped them on there. Like nothing really blends. It's like everything kind of overlaps each other. All right, so you got your Authentics on the left, replicas on the right. We're gonna get into the tongue. I really don't know how this even happened. Like usually they do a better job. But this tongue is like so movable. You shouldn't be able to move it like that. It should be real stiff, like how it is on the Authentics. The print, I mean, even if you get a good pair, the print is almost exactly the same. I mean, it's not really much of a difference. They did mess up on the S, on the SB part. But if you look at Nikes, it's smaller, but it's also thicker. And then there's your Unauthentics. See if I can back up and get it. Yeah, not bad. The laces, I mean, they're almost exactly the same. Authentics are on the left. Your replicas are on the right. The leather on the toe box, it isn't too bad. It's about the same. I really hate how sometimes Nike doesn't always do this peak. I always talk about this peak, like where your shoes come to a peak, like where the material ends or where it's cut. Nike usually doesn't have a peak, but when I got mine, I kind of seen it a little bit. So I already knew that was going to be one of the things that I was going to talk about, was the peak. All right, we're going to get into the heels. Like I said, that peak is still back here, just like how it is on the Authentics. I hate that. But I mean, just into detail, I mean, you can tell like where the uppers are on the back of the heel are not neat. If you look at that, like two totally different things. They did kind of get this Nike stitching right. I ain't gonna lie, it's not too much difference on there. But I mean, even with the stitching, they always kind of do a good job. The clouds are definitely different. They're more puffy on this side. Like this is a big cloud versus this being smaller. If you look at the stitching on Nikes, they have like these little gaps in between where each one of the stitching ends. Like each one of these ends, you kind of see a little hole. Versus on the Unauthentics, it's not. And then also the stitching that's around here is like so bad, so big and bold. Versus on here, it's like really neat. You know what I'm saying? It's like kind of, it's not covered, but it's still covered by some of the cowhide that they use. But I mean, and then like the soles, if you look at Nikes, which is on the left, the Authentic versus the right, you see where each gap ends, like each one of these ends is so distinguished on the Authentic versus it is on the Unauthentic. If you look at that, like no detail versus it really pops out at you on this shoe. All right, we'll do a quick little review on the tabs. I mean, like these, I don't even pay attention to no more because they're so good at like getting them right that I really don't even pay attention to these really no more, other than the print that's on them. I don't know if you can see that. But other than the print that's on these, I really don't pay attention to because it's so easy to mock these tags. They did get that little hole right on the inside. Do have like a little green hole. I mean, but if you look at the stitching on the inside of the Authentics, which is on the left, versus the stitching that's on the Unauthentics, man, it's almost exactly the same. Like the shoe was put together at the same spot. But we'll get into the insoles. The Authentics are on the left. The Unauthentics are on the right. The first thing that I ever look at when I buy a SB anywhere, it don't matter what it is. It don't matter if it's a Ben&Jerry, Strange Love, Travis. I don't care if it's a red lobster, purple lobster, green lobster. No matter what it is, the fly wire inside these air pockets that are underneath here will always be there. Nike puts fly wire on the inside of these. So if you press down, because it's an actual air pocket, if you press down inside this, you can see the little fly wire bends and then it stretches back out. If people who ever had LeBrons, the LeBron 8s, the LeBron 7s, what else are they on? I think they're on the, no, they're not on the 9s. They have that fly wire on the inside of the pocket. If you look at these, there's nothing inside of this bubble at all. And that's with every fake dunk I've ever seen. That's the first thing I look at. I just go straight here. Because this fly wire inside this, and this doesn't even go down easy. You got to really press this. You know what I'm saying? That's something that you always want to pay attention to. This looks like you can just peel it right off. Like it's not good at all. This is really thin. It's not really cushioned. Versus this right here, like you can put a finger imprint in it. It's just like so soft. That's SBs are skateboard, like, well, that's what SB means. But this is why they put the comfort inside the SB. All right, and what I wanted to show y'all with the laces, Authentics are on the left, replicas are on the right. These laces should not come on a tag by themselves. Like, this shouldn't be together. Like on the Authentics, it should come separate. The green ones are on one tag, the yellow laces are on a separate tag. They should not be together. And then looking at the laces, like I said, it's kind of hard to tell. These are real fluffy. SB laces are real fluffy. These are fluffy. They're wide, but there's nothing in them. It's like nothing in this. It's so thin. All right, so we're going to get into the detail, like the stitching. Their Authentics are on the bottom. The replicas are on the top. I switched it up a little bit, but I just wanted to show y'all the stitching and how detailed it is. Now, if you look on the replicas, you can see how far and how big the stitching is versus you looking at the Authentics. You see how little bitty the stitching is and how it's together. I'll show you on the white part where it pops out. But the stitching is so small and like so detailed versus it being on the replicas. It's not. Like the stitching is very bad. Like it's just not there. I mean, it's put together well, but I mean, it just looked like it'll fall apart on you versus the stitching and detail on the Authentic. Just so much better. So much better. But I mean, all right, last but not least, I'm going to show you the bottom of the shoes. The Authentics are still going to be on the left. Your Unauthentics are going to be on the right. Hopefully you can see this with this video. But if you look at these stars that are on the outside of the shoe, they are not very good in detail. They're just kind of like splattered all over the place. Versus you looking at the Authentics, these stars are all nice and neat. They are all the same size, and they are all right by each other. Like, not many gaps. Versus if you look at the pair that are not authentic, look how poorly those stars are. Like, they don't have really points on them. There's so many gaps in between them. Like, they just kind of line them all up and put them all on there. Versus the Authentics.